All right, what's up? Amon Hanshaw with Pro Ad Labs. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to go over just some cool opportunities that have come your way, how you've been able to completely pivot from the retainer model into the PPL, and just some of your journey along the way. So, real quickly, Amon is one of the founding members of the Pivot and Scale program, and I am incredibly proud to say that I do consider you one of my proteges. So it's been a pleasure to working with you so far. Incredibly sharp dude. And again, thank you for joining me, man.
I thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited. Really excited.
Cool, man. Cool. So let's go ahead and just start with let's take it back in time. Let's feel the pain. Tell me, what was it like to be an
Sure.
agency owner stuck on that retainer model?
Well, when I was a young boy, no, I've been building ProAd Labs for about 2 years now, and we'd started. My partners and I had started in the retainer, the classic agency model. And if I had to summarize everything for you right now in one word, it would be headache.
Yeah.
Every day you're waking up. If you did get sleep, which in my case I didn't, I probably slept 26 hours in the year of 2019. And when you have retainer clients every day, it may be, in my case, it was dreadful. It was absolutely, I was worrying, okay, what fire am I going to have to put out tomorrow? What client is going to be upset because I can't prove the ROI? They don't actually know where their money's going. You know, you have these clients paying you $5,000, $10,000 a month and $3,000 of ad spend, but they're wondering, okay, I'm putting money in, where's the money going? So in any business, you're wondering how, money in, money out, but you have almost no way to prove it. In our case, we were sending traffic to their websites, and we were handling social media management when I was working with Bank of America. And really, it became a massive headache in many different ways. So it was such a relief to discover PPL this year, and I'll dive into that if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, let's kind of stay on the retainer, and you just hearing you say headache is, to me, it was the same way with me, where just trying to justify your reasoning to have them as a client, right? It was
Hmm.
justifying the all of the reports, right? And all of the charts and where did their spend
Hmm.
go and how many visitors did you send them? And when it was all said and done, it really didn't matter because all of it was statistics. Now, as marketers, we like the statistics and there's reasons why we use those statistics. But when it's all said and done, most clients only care about one thing: sales. How can you create opportunities so I have more sales in my business? And, a lot of the
Exactly.
times, in that retainer model, you're just so stuck trying to figure out the testing and all the different things that go along with it, because usually what winds up happening is you don't get too many repeat customers in the same industry. It's you're taking
Hmm.
anybody you can get, right? And at that point, it's
Yeah.
all of the research that goes along with it, and the massive amount of research before you can actually determine that you have the right way to advertise on your behalf of a client. And then of course it's all the testing phases that go into it, and by the time you finally get that sweet spot with the client, oftentimes they're like, well, I don't know, it didn't really work out for me. We didn't see the results we were looking for. And it's just like, the results you were looking for, what were those anyways? And it's those
Hmm.
KPIs that the difference between a pay per lead and the retainer is just the whole difference. You don't have to have all of those conversations with the clients. And so
Hmm.
I'm right there with you as far as all the headaches that go along with the retainer model. So
What you said is really important. You have in our case, we had clients in 8 to 9 different, we ended up working in about 70 different industries over the course of 2 years.
you said 70.
And at one time, 70, 70.
Woo.
Yeah. Anything and every, well, that's the thing. You'll take on whatever you can get. When you need to hedge your retainer every month, you eventually need to bring on things that you may not even understand entirely, but you have to be able to advertise for that person. So it becomes a really uphill battle, right? Where you have, let's say you have a lawyer, but you also have an e-commerce client in our case, and maybe we could have niched down. Sure, I agree. In some cases, we could have done better. However, I'd say this is going to be most of the cases for the retainer agency. You have to take on what you can get, and for us, you had to become a master at multiple different industries, and that's extremely difficult. You're almost not going to become an expert, or at least you won't become an industry expert if you continue down that path.
That's true. That's true. And even you know, you mentioned we should have niched down. I mean, even if you did niche down, you were still on the retainer model. There's still so many nuances that go along with, you know, uh, the ability to keep a client on board with retainer versus keeping them on board for the opportunities, right? And when you're just setting traffic, even if you are, you know, quote unquote, an expert in a specific niche, you're losing opportunities to be able to monetize so much. And we can talk about that a little bit more on the call, but you know, once you're on that retainer, you're just kind of stuck there. And you know, like you said, it's when it's all said and done, it's all about results for your clients. And I feel like the retainer model is just kind of old school. And you know, it's taught out there by so many gurus, right? I mean, most of the boxes teach you, you know, this is what you want to do as an agency. And you know, there's a few of us that kind of figured out that, you know, we'll let the majority of people kind of, you know, battle it out, and then, you know, we'll just kind of optimize it and on the pay per lead and pay per opportunity stuff. So that being said, curious, how has that transition been from the retainer into the PPL?
Sure. As I mentioned, we've been doing the agency. I've been building this for 2 years, but a year and a half was spent in the retainer world. Well, a little more than that. And February of this year, we had a real conversation, my partners and I. We made a decision that we wanted to stop being the hamster on the wheel. And there's got to be a better way, right? That was essentially what we were writing. We were writing on the wall is there's got to be a better way and a smarter way. So we had been entertaining the PPL model. And of course, at the end of the day, what any business is looking for is sales. At the end of the day, they need revenue, they need to make money. Whether you're doing social media management as an agency, which we were partly doing, we were doing chatbots and all these other things, right? 6 or 7 different services that you had to manage. But at the end of the day, what we're aiming at is money in and money out for the clients. That's it. So our transition looked a little bit like this, where we could scale up to 15, 20 clients for a month. And that's all fine and dandy. You're making a decent amount of revenue. You might get to 100K, but our experience was 2 things. 1, it was a major headache. And 2, we were kind of capped. If we wanted to expand our business, that means we have to get more clients. It's hard to maximize what we already have. So we'd entertained the PPL model for quite some time, and we finally decided to pull the trigger. We discovered what the best industry was, that kind of a dinosaur industry that needed some assistance, and they could really use some quality marketers in the space. So that was kind of how we started. And fast forward 6 months later, we're thriving a lot. Compared to a year and a half ago, we're absolutely thriving in terms of revenue and also in terms of our profit margins. So we were doing about 12% was our agency profit margin, and that's what would get split amongst the partners once all was said and done after expenses. And now our profit margins, because we're able to decrease on the actual contractors needed to deliver, and also because we can maximize with each individual client. So that has gone to about 35% on average is our monthly profit margin, which is obviously significantly different.
Yeah, it's double. And we've had some conversations, and those are for a whole different interview. But all the different ways to monetize the traffic when you control it, right? When you are just on a
Mm-hmm.
retainer and you're sending the traffic away to your clients, you don't control any of that. But when you're actually capturing the leads and you can control that data and you can control those consumers, and you can actually control the funnel, right? You know exactly
Mm-hmm.
when that person's coming in the funnel, and how are you going to monetize that person after they filled out a form, or what relationship are you going to have as far as a nurturing campaign to try to monetize them, and other things that might not necessarily be specific to what you just generated that lead for that specific client for, but it's yours, right? So there's so many different ways
Mm-hmm.
to monetize all of that information that you've collected, you've spent the money on, and now you are actually rewarded on a higher ROI because you've dialed in those, ad spend, and you've been able to find, small little cracks where you're like, what, if we can just kind of get some high quality leads from that little source right there, all of a sudden, that ROI could be, maybe from 35, and you might be able to, go up to 40%, where you just don't have that opportunity if you're not into the, that pay per lead deal. So yeah, so as far as profitability, it's, obviously, getting that initial profit, from retainer to the PPL, but all of the opportunities that go along with being able to monetize when you can control the traffic is just so important. And it's the difference between, being an agency owner and being a business owner, as far as I'm concerned. It's just being able to say there's so much opportunity here by utilizing the same thing, by number one, simplifying it, right? It's just one offer. You're just doing leads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an easier way to pitch, right? I mean, how your client acquisition, how is that working out for you?
Well, I'll tell you, the most ridiculous, maybe one of the craziest sales days of my life, actually. And it was in part to having an amazing offer. So we, of course, were doing the same outreach that we were doing for the traditional retainer model, but the responses from business owners when they understand you're not trying to pitch them on a 6-month contract that they can't, for instance, measure, which is a key if you're a business owner. So now we're saying, here's what you're going to spend. Here's what you can expect. Here's what we're going to promise. This is what we'll deliver 100% of the time. The first time that I got on the phone, it was obvious that this was a major difference in offer. And then we ended up closing 3 clients in the span of 15 days into switching to the from retainer to PPL. We closed 3 national clients. And these are guys that we wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise with a traditional model. They wouldn't have entertained even for a moment. So it's basically night and day with client acquisition. And on one point that you had there, which is really important to us, is the ownership. I would say when you own the real estate, now you're actually a business owner, and you're less of, in my world, you're less of a commodity, because when you're sending the traffic to a client, then you don't own it, right? Everything, that's all their real estate. You don't necessarily have control. However, when you're doing PPL, that brand is yours. That asset is yours, which you can keep remonetizing, and you can keep creating revenue from that. Or additionally, you can choose to sell and exit down the line, which is what we're aiming at.
Yep. That's what we did. I mean, we own the data, and it was our processes. It wasn't anybody else's processes. It was our information. It was the way that we were able to capture those leads, and then of course, at an enormous scale, and then have both. And we can discuss this real quickly. Wholesale and retail opportunities, and that's the other kind of cool thing about the PPL model is, when you're a typical traditional agency, you have to rely 100% on getting clients on board, right? Retail clients,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a process that goes along with it. The cool thing about, a industry in which that there's people looking for a service, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. It creates it's interesting because you think that your competitors are competitors, but believe it or not, they can actually be partners and you can
Mhm.
actually do business with them, because when it's all said and done, not everybody can fill every single bucket as far as leads are concerned. So people are
Mhm.
always buying and selling leads all day long within a specific niche. And at that point, now you have the opportunity to say, all right, obviously we want to monetize our retail clients, because we make the biggest margin off of those leads. But at the same time, you know what? If there's money to be made as far as being on a wholesale level, and you've already dialed in that the cost per lead in your digital marketing, well, there's no reason why you should only go to the retail customers. You have an opportunity to resell it in the wholesale market on the pay per lead. So from what I understand, you guys are doing a little bit of that as well, correct?
Exactly right. That's something that we learned from you and started to implement right away. It became really obvious. So you, of course, have your retail clients and you can have your national facing clients. However, what I like to call our frenemies. So this is basically an opportunity where you can turn leads that you may not have been able to sell to your retail clients, or they may not be a good fit. And now you can turn around and sell them to what would be your competitors. At least in the agency world, that's at least how I was perceiving them. And what it allows you to do now is it was a paradigm shift for us, for sure, which is now you can make money together instead of the you versus us situations. And I think it's really an amazing opportunity. And in your case, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this type of frenemy ended up becoming who'd buy you out and who you'd eventually exit with.
That's it. That's it. We were selling. We were selling that aggregator, probably 20, 25, 30,000 leads a month, and they were asking for more. And eventually they're like, well, instead of just paying more for your leads, how about we just buy your company? And that's what wound up happening.
Mhm.
It's their acquisitions happen all the time. We looked at smaller lead generators as far as acquiring them as well. So all of these different ways of monetizing the PPL space is just, for it to just be one offer and one single funnel, the amount of money that's to be made in this specific PPL strategy it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. And obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. Anyways, man, I know that we're pretty much close to being done. We've done this a couple times today. That being,
That's right.
had some technical difficulties, but yeah, real quickly, if you don't mind, just tell the viewers how your experience has been working with me, with the systems and the strategies and the automations that I've been able to share with you, throughout the Pivot and Scale program.
Great. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Working with you has been a real pleasure, and I'm not just saying that. I was introduced to you through a mutual friend, of course, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I've always been a little skeptical of people that are willing to teach, because 9 times out of 10 who have had time to work with is someone that has learned something and now they're regurgitating or teaching it their own way. It's the difference of night and day working with you, which is you're someone that has actually done what they're saying. It's not just read a book and closed it and now I'm telling you exactly what I read. It's you've been through the entire thing, and you're someone that's also exited, which is extremely important to us. So working with you has been really amazing, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity. I know that anyone that has the chance to do it should absolutely jump on it. The one thing that I would say about you is you're someone that doesn't hold back when it comes to teaching. You're extremely genuine, and you're also able to be creative for 2 reasons. One, it may be the theatrical background and you're just a creative guy, but also because you don't have an underlying interest of holding back any information, because you've already exited that business and you don't need to necessarily hide any secrets. So what I know is that I can go to you and you'll give me the honest, blunt truth about what's going well and what's not going well, which I think is equally important in the business world. So I'm extremely grateful, and I think that anyone that has the chance to work with you would be very lucky.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. And yeah, to your point, it's limiting the mistakes are just as important as being able to have a vision for the victories, right? Because the mistakes, if you can avoid some of those along the way, just by having somebody like me, and it's just so interesting. Your generation is so lucky to be able to have guys like me that are willing to help, because when I was getting started, this didn't exist. Like the higher ticket and the gurus and all the stuff that goes along with it, it just didn't exist, right? You had to just figure it out yourself, or you had to go to Wharton School of Business at UPenn. And hopefully you had some connections and hired some really good guys along the way. And it's just a cool time right now. And again, I'm honored to be working with you. You're a super sharp guy. I'm so excited to see the trajectory of your company, and more conversations that we have to kind of grow that. And yeah, man, thank you for all of the kind words. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time
Thank
today,
you.
man. I appreciate it, Amon.
You got it.
All right.
Bye.